My name is Lukas, this is Elias, and today you have the chance of helping us becoming Taiwanese. But before we get there, I think we need a little bit of an introduction on who is Elias.
I am Swedish. I moved to the US when I was 20. Somehow ended up hanging out with a lot of people from Asia, among them a lot of Japanese people. So I went to Japan as an exchange student from my American university. Loved Japan. Thought this is the place where I want to live. But I had to go back to the US to graduate. So I had one more semester to go. And the first day when I walked into my university that day, there was a Taiwanese girl there.
Oh,
and
like so many other stories begin.
Yes. So eventually, we ended up in Taiwan instead. So that was 24 years ago.
Wow. So you've been in Taiwan for like 24 years?
24 years, yeah. So I've lived in Taiwan longer than I lived in Sweden.
Wow. I'm just acting surprised now because I know everything about you already because you are one of the most prominent foreign entrepreneurs here in Taiwan. But before we get to that, looking back like 24 years ago, do you still remember like your first impressions of Taiwan? And was there anything different compared to like Taiwan year 2000 compared to like Taiwan 2024?
Huge differences. I remember arriving at the airport with one suitcase and my dog from the US. There were no bread anywhere. There was like one store in Tianmu where you had to go and find that stuff, right? Maybe 2-3 restaurants in the whole of Taipei where you could get a burger, for example. McDonald's was still, existed, right? But you would walk into McDonald's, you would see people kind of sit there and kind of poke at the burger and say, how do I eat this? Where's the chopsticks kind of thing, The center of Taipei was like the Mitsukoshi building, the Taipei main station. By that time, in 2000, 101 wasn't there, the whole Baisho, Warner Village area wasn't there. There wasn't any, W Hotel or whatever. So you kind of ended up taking the bus over there and felt like you were far away from things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes, very different compared to like how it is now.
Even the identity of what is Taiwan and who is Taiwan has changed, right? I mean, these days, there's definitely a much stronger Taiwanese identity and stuff like that, which, I think is great.
In the shortest way possible, what are you doing in Taiwan now?
I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. I started my first business when I was 15 and So when I came to Taiwan, I started my first Taiwanese business my third month in Taiwan.
What was that? What did you do?
So that was actually Taiwan's first web portal for the gay and lesbian community.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm not gay and I'm definitely not lesbian, but, my business partners were. And they told me that there is a need for this. I mean, basically a website that we provided advertisements for like gay and lesbian friendly companies like bars and products, chat rooms, dating ads, and all of that stuff on our website. And then we sold that company and we took the proceeds from that and we founded Inspire, which is a marketing company that I'm still running today. So that company is now 22 years old. And so Inspire is pretty much Taiwan's, I think, largest B2B marketing company. So we help companies like Oracle, eBay, Letian, and thousands more to find their business customers in Taiwan. So I have about 70 employees that work for me that, does a fantastic job. On top of that, I have spent about 20 years working with immigrant entrepreneurs in Taiwan. People like me that wanted to start a business here but couldn't find the information. We started organizing workshops. Eventually, I wrote a book called How to Start a Business in Taiwan. Basically, 300 plus pages. It's all the boring shit that you need to know in order to run a business. And what I mean with that is this is all about, health insurance, what kind of entities and paying your taxes. And then you add on top of that the need for, an immigrant to have a visa and you need to do things the right way. Get the company set up and then, okay, so now I can work in this. Work? No, you need a visa for that. Yeah, wasn't that clear? Oh, no, you didn't tell me. Very often like this because there were so few immigrants that set up companies here. And that's actually still true. If you're comparing Taiwan to US, Canada, England, and so on, the rate of entrepreneurship among immigrants in Taiwan is way lower. Way, way, way lower. In the UK, for example, 14% of all companies are founded by an immigrant. In Taiwan, it's less than 1%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if Taiwan could get the immigrants, the foreign residents here to set up companies in the same, level as these other countries, there would be like 100,000 more companies on this island, which, might employ, 500,000 to 1 million more people. So basically the unemployment rate could just disappear.
You have been in Taiwan for 24 years. You have had a very successful company for 22 of those years, but you're still not Taiwanese.
No.
Why?
Up until a couple of years ago, there were no choice. If you wanted to become Taiwanese, you had to give up your other passport. That was an absolute, which is weird because Taiwanese people, move to the US and Canada and whatnot all the time and get the second passport. But for those of us who came to Taiwan, there were no loopholes. We had to give up our other passport. And a lot of Taiwanese people don't know this. I meet people all the time who's like, what? You're not Taiwanese yet?
Yeah, and I just want to clarify this because every single time I talk about like Taiwanese citizenships, I get so many like wrongfully comments just because the rules are different if you're Taiwanese or if you're a foreigner first.
Yeah.
So Taiwanese people, you can have dual citizenships if you're Taiwanese first. Then you go to the US, you go to Sweden, you go wherever, you apply for a second one, that's okay. But if you already have a foreign nationality, then you cannot, 99% of the time, you cannot apply for a Taiwanese citizenship without surrendering your original one.
Right. A few years ago, there was a small little hole in the law being opened up for somebody who...
for like the elite, the foreign elite.
The top elite of people there, they could get like a top level minister or whatever to like say, this person has really contributed to the nation and whatnot. I am arrogant enough to believe that maybe I could apply for that elite. I would like to think. I think I have provided a lot of value to Taiwan. But I don't think I should have to, right? Again, it's so easy for Taiwanese people to go to other countries and if that country allows it, get their passport and they're coming back. I mean, there are so many, people living here that have dual, let's say, Taiwanese, Canadian, Taiwanese American citizenship. And I think Taiwan needs more foreign friends more than anything, right? We need people to move here because we have a shortage of workers. We need more entrepreneurs to come here, like we said, and so on. So in order to attract more people to come here, like why should somebody come here if they can't know that there is a possibility they can really stay here for the rest of their lives? Like I have a permanent residentship, but there are still maybe every week, maybe every 2 weeks, somebody tells me, oh, I'm sorry, because you're a foreigner, you can't do this, or you can't apply for that, or it's going to cost you more, or things are just more complicated. And the most important, I can't vote. That's the whole point about this fantastic democracy we're living in, right? The decisions that the legislators are making, they are affecting myself, my family, my business, and I would love to be able to participate in that democracy. I can give another example. When me and my wife bought an apartment last year, the banks were willing to lend us money, but if I was part owner of the apartment, they would lend us much less.
What?
Yes. So they were willing to lend, let's say, 85% to my wife if she was the sole owner and I was the guarantor. But if we were both owners of this apartment, which we obviously will pay for together, then they would only lend us 70%. Right? And some...
I don't have like 20 years of business experience, but like how does this make sense?
I don't think it does because,
we're on the same page then.
I mean, I make more money than my wife does. And, I've been here for 24 years. From their point of view and looking at it, they are seeing, well, I am a foreigner, therefore I'm maybe a flight risk, which doesn't make sense because, I'm literally buying this apartment. I'm putting a whole lot of money into this apartment. I can't take it with me. It's not like I'm getting that money into my pocket, right? So it's hard to understand. And of course, several banks just straight up turned us down. They would not lend money to a foreigner. For a few years now, all Taiwanese people have been able to go online and do their taxes, right? And then some bright person said, well, we should allow, foreign residents to also do their taxes online. So instead of then opening up for the foreigners to use the same software, they create a whole new software that does exactly the same thing, but worse. So, dear Taiwanese, just ask yourself, why does the government want to spend the money twice?
This is not the case for us right now, but I've also heard stories about, there are of course ways around it. If, for example, you marry a Taiwanese, but if you're like two foreigners and like you don't have like any like connections or network into like the Taiwanese society, especially if you have kids, then it's like we're talking about like a whole other nightmare, because like the kids are dependent on like the parents' ARCs or like APRCs. So then when the kid is then turning like 18, 20,
right,
they're basically like getting kicked out of Taiwan unless they get like a visa like other foreigners who just arrived to Taiwan. Right. So like you lose all the security of being like two foreigners or two immigrants coming to Taiwan to actually start like a new life.
Right.
Like you are dependent on a Taiwanese connection.
Right. The example I like to use is the founders of YouTube, Yahoo, and NVIDIA. And just about every Taiwanese person knows that the founders of these three fantastic, huge companies were born in Taiwan, moved to the US, and then started those companies there. But what most people kind of miss is that those people, those founders, were 5, 7, and 10 years old when they moved to the States. So it wasn't them moving, it was their parents that moved, right? Now, if it had been an American moving to Taiwan, just like you're saying, those parents would have come to Taiwan, those kids would not be Taiwanese. They would absolutely have to worry about that most likely when they turn 18 or 20, they would most likely have to leave Taiwan. You know, you can imagine a completely different level of commitment and connection with Taiwan, right? These hugely successful founders, if they had lived in Taiwan and if they were foreigners here, as a foreigner here, like I've lived there for 24 years. Let's say you set up a company and I want to invest in you. You're setting up a Taiwanese company. As it doesn't matter. A Taiwanese person is setting up a company and I want to invest in you. Now it's counted as a foreign investment. So I have to go to
Been there, done that.
Yeah. So I have to go to the MOEA, the Investment Commission, and I have to say, please, would you please allow me to invest in this Taiwanese company?
Please take my money.
Yes, please take my money.
So as you can hear, there are a lot of struggles that I understand that Taiwanese people are not even aware of, but this is the reality for us foreigners / immigrants coming here to Taiwan and wants to actually have a life, our entire life here in Taiwan. But that is something that we're also trying to change very much with this specific video as well, because you could actually help us by signing a petition that is down in the comment section. What we're trying to do now is that we're trying to raise 5,000 signatures for this petition, because then it will then be brought to the legislators who are then obligated to at least look at this issue and provide us with an answer.
I mean, again, what a fantastic democracy this is, that there is a function where anybody can go and make a petition and say, I think that these laws should change. And if enough people go and sign it, then the politicians have to consider it. They might not agree. They might say this is really not what we want to do, but at least they have to consider it, right? What we are trying to do is to say, make it legal for people that have had a permanent residence for 5 years. So it takes usually 5 years first to get a permanent residency. And after 5 years after that, I should be able to apply for Taiwanese citizenship without the prerequisite that I give up my Swedish passport. That means that by the time I can apply for that, I have lived in Taiwan for 10 years. I have paid my taxes for 10 years. I have built up, I have some money in the bank, and then all the other requirements will still be there. So if I'm young enough and male, I have to do military service. I have to be able to speak a certain level of Chinese because that's part of the requirements and so on. So all of those requirements will still be there. It's the only thing that we want to change is that after 5 years as a permanent resident here, I should not have to give up my, in my case, Swedish passport.
The only thing we're asking is that if you are a fan of me, this YouTube channel, and you want to see more foreigners just like myself and Elias coming here to Taiwan, contributing for literally decades, trying to help Taiwan as much as we can, please just take a moment, click the link down in the descriptions or in the comments, just take a look, just read it through, and then please do help us by adding a signature to this petition as well. This is not a vote. You're not actually doing anything other than just asking the government, the legislators, to take a look, and then they will take this forward. We're just asking to have this question heard and hopefully answered as well. But with that said, what kind of like negativity or like counter arguments are there towards this? Like what is the reason for why it hasn't even happened yet?
If we go on the website here, the join.gov.tw, we see a lot of comments from people who says, well, if we open up this, then maybe, thousands, tens of thousands of Chinese people will come into Taiwan or whatever. But the law that we're trying to change doesn't apply to Chinese people. According to ROC law, Chinese people and people from Hong Kong and Macau, they are handled in another section of the law. This law here would only apply for really people like you and me, basically. So that's not an issue. And then there's people who somehow miss that part about that all the other requirements will also, apply. All these foreigners will come here and they don't want to do the military service. Well, I'm a gray hair, okay? I'm a little bit too old by now. But, any foreign male who is under 37 and becomes Taiwanese, they will have to do the military service. If they want to participate and become Taiwanese, there are rights and there are obligations. Military service, taxes, obeying the laws, none of that will change. There are 38,000 permanent residents in Taiwan. So,
like permanent, not like normal ARC holders.
Yeah, permanent. People that have lived in Taiwan for at least 5 years, and then they apply for the permanent right, so they don't have to go and reapply every year, right? And there are only 38,000 of them. So, of course, not all of them will want to become Taiwanese either. So let's say that there would be maybe, I'm just guessing here, 25,000 people there that are eligible because they've had the permanent for 5 years. So we're not talking about suddenly changing, the culture of Taiwan or whatever. No, we're talking about, let's say, 25,000 people who already live here and already love Taiwan, and now they just want to become Taiwanese so they can be secure in that them and their kids will be able to keep on staying here and participate in the full experience of being Taiwanese.
If we do get this petition through, and if you do eventually become Taiwanese, how would you celebrate?
That would be a very, very, very huge party somewhere, first of all.
In a new apartment, so then you have to take another loan to renovate it again.
Yeah. I know this sounds silly and it sounds a little bit mean, but I'm looking forward to going to banks and other places and, try to sign up for something. And when they start saying, oh, 不好意思，因为你是外国人，所以真的没有办法. It's like, boom, 身份证, right? Here's my Taiwanese passport. Yeah, so our goal is by October 19 to have 5,000 signatures. So please sign it and please, ask your friends and your neighbors and so on to sign it. Yeah, if anybody wants to know why I want to become Taiwanese, I would say because I love Taiwan. Taiwan is a democracy and I want to be part of all of it.
Thank you all so much for watching. My name is Lukas. Starts with L as in like, ends with S as in subscribe. Please do both, and see you all in the next one.